Hey, we're finally here, man.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting to have you back on Christmas break.
Yeah, it is. It's real nice to be home for sure.
Man, it's an honor to have you in here. And, if anybody doesn't know, it's Reece Staley. He's an Army Ranger guy now. Had him since he was in sixth grade, maybe.
Yeah, sixth grade.
And
that's when I started coming in.
Yeah, and you are very well respected here in the Woodgym. And that's what we do here at the Woodgym is make sure we pull all our personalities out and about and made them seen and heard on this podcast, because I think I have very interesting people that are inside the Woodgym. I don't have to go outside to pull guests, so I think it's kind of neat. I want to hear everybody's stories, and I think everybody in here is a type A personality that gets after it.
Yeah.
So let's start with that. Take me back to how we started and how you found the Woodgym and how you found me.
Well, it was back when I was in sixth grade. I just started playing middle school football. Judge Irwin was my coach, and I love playing football, but then I got a really, really bad concussion, and it really scared me, brought me down, and I lost a lot of confidence. I didn't want to play football anymore. But my parents talked to Coach Irwin, and he recommended that I come in here and start working out with you. So I started coming in here in sixth grade, and it really brought my confidence back, and I started loving working out and playing football a lot more, and I couldn't have done that without you. And that really set me up for success later on in my life. If I had quit football, that would have changed my life.
And so you played high school football, and then you got into some Golden Gloves that, a fellow alumnus from Catholic, Harrison Smith, got into. We got him into boxing, and boxing is probably my number one, number two favorite sport of all time, of watching and being a fan of, and the history of it and what it takes to be a world-class boxer or even amateur ranks. They're beautiful to go watch, and we do that all the time. So how did you get into that?
I mean, I was looking at it online because I remember you telling me Harrison was doing it. I watched some videos of him boxing. I was like, man, that looks pretty cool. That's pretty different. Nobody else is doing that. And
Harrison
I think that
Smith is the Vikings safety now that went to Catholic Notre Dame.
I grew up with Stu, his brother, so I know Harrison and all that. But I just started looking into that, and I was like, hey, Dad, this looks pretty cool. Do you think you let me do this? And he was like, yeah. So in the football off season, I'd work out after school, and then I would go over to Golden Gloves, and Coach Deathridge and Coach Witt were my boxing coaches, and we'd train, and I'd, fight all the dudes in the gym, and it was awesome. It really made me a lot faster, speed, and it also brought me a lot more confidence as well.
And then you went through high school, football, boxing, and then, let's talk about West Point. How did you select, what brought you to that level of thinking of this is a school I want to go to? I mean, I know you're super disciplined. The people in the Woodgym know who you are, but for everybody out there listening, how does somebody pick West Point?
Well, when I was really young, as long as I can remember, I'd always been really interested in the military. I always wanted to be in the Army. And so when I got to high school, I started looking because I was going to go to college, and, Air Force Academy, West Point, Naval Academy really jumped out as something that I wanted to do. And so I started looking. I went to the Air Force Academy summer seminar, where you go out there as a high schooler and live there for a week, and they treat you like a cadet. And from the moment I went out to the Air Force Academy, I hated it. It was not my place. It was just a completely different mentality than I was used to. And so when I got back, I was like, man, what am I going to do? That's kind of what I was banking on going to, and I didn't like it. And so my uncle had his best friend's daughter that went to West Point, and she contacted me. He's like, hey, why don't you come up for a visit, a day visit? So me and my mom, we drove up there, and we toured the campus with them, and I got to spend the day with a cadet, and it was just like a football team mentality, which is what I like. It's just, hard workers, guys that are willing to grind and just get the work done. Not a lot of appreciation, but that's what I like. So
did you know right off the bat?
Yeah, right when I walked in, I just felt like, this is something that I would like to do and something that I can do. So that from then on, and then she told me about the sprint football team, which is how I ended up getting in to West Point. I didn't get in just straight in like normal people do. I got recruited as a sprint football player, but I would have never, ever have known that going into it. So I probably wouldn't have gotten in unless I had done sprint football, because that's how I got in.
Really?
Yeah, because I remember I'd applied and everything, and they waitlist everybody from the districts because you got to get a congressional nomination to go. And I was like number 4 or 5, and they only let the top 3 from the district go in. And so I was like, well, it looks like I'm not going to get in. But then I found out about sprint football, so I sent my film to Coach West. And Coach West was like, yeah, we'll take you. We'd take you right now. And so they call it like a chip, or I kind of forget what it's called, but it's like a chip. And he used a chip on me and pulled me in.
And what year was your freshman year?
2013, 2014.
2013. So then, I know your mom was, I would say, concerned, cheering for you, whatever it was to get through. And the hardest thing was the first 6 weeks, and you could accept letters, but no phone calls. It was pretty primitive, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a basic training experience. It's not like a regular basic training. I would say it's a lot different. It's kind of maybe toned down a little bit. I don't know.
Did it get easier as the years went on?
Man. Like from freshman year to my senior year, it was just a night and day difference. Like the freshman year, you don't know anybody, you can't really leave, so it's kind of like you're just stuck there all the time. And if you don't like the people you're like roommates with or around most of the time, which is guys in your company or guys that you play sports with, it could be pretty rough. So my freshman year wasn't great. I hated my freshman year. It was terrible, because you can't be friends with upperclassmen either. You just only can be friends with fellow freshmen. I
mean, but when you were there, did you know you wanted to go to the next level of an Army Ranger, or what did you study?
So like that didn't happen until my sophomore year. When I was a freshman, I like hated it. I went through the basic. I was like, man, I want to do like ADA or like artillery or something, like anything but the infantry, because it just, whatever we did for our training gave me a real bad taste in my mouth. But when I was going into my sophomore year, I got to do CFT 1 with a Green Beret, like an ODA team, and they trained us like 12 of those guys trained like 80 of us. We had 2 ODAs per platoon. I remember I had Sergeant Hopper and Sergeant First Class Correa, and they like changed my whole outlook on everything. Like if it wasn't for them, I would not have wanted to do what I do now. I wouldn't have had the drive. I just didn't know anything about the Army really, and they really taught me about like ODAs and Green Berets and just that next level of stuff. So that. So
you went through 4 years, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's get on with the meat and potatoes of this conversation. I think everybody's interested in is, how did you think, hey, I want to be an Army Ranger?
Well, yeah, so like Ranger school, like I will say there's a difference between like Army Rangers, like people actually in the Ranger Regiment, and what I've done. So I haven't done Ranger Regiment. I'm not in the Ranger Regiment. I just did Ranger school, and now I'm in the Light Airborne Infantry Unit. But like, yeah, going to Ranger school is definitely something it's hard. It's very hard and challenging, and not a lot of people get the opportunity, or they have the opportunity and they don't get to make it. So it's definitely something cool that
Is
I've
it
done.
something like I'm sure a lot of the listeners are thinking like G.I. Jane, Navy SEALs. Yeah, so many people go in, so many people come out. Mm-hmm. How many people went in with your class?
I think we had, because my class I had 2 classes. So I started in February, at the end of February, the last class of February, and I got recycled. I think that class we started like 300 or 400, and I don't remember. We had 80 recycles in Darby, and then some people moved. I don't really remember, but
and how long is that?
The recycle?
No, like to become a full-fledged Army Ranger.
If you go straight through, it's 62 days.
62 days.
But that is not common. That's like 10% of people go straight through.
And when you talk recycle, what is that?
So there's 3 phases of Ranger school. You have Darby, which is in Benning, Mountains, which is in Dahlonega, Georgia, in the mountains, and then Florida phase, which is in Eglin Air Force Base in Florida. And each phase is like 3 weeks. And so you start the phase off like the first week, 2 weeks is just learning, patrolling, different things like that, working on your internal SOPs, working with your platoon or squad, whatever. And then the last week is the FTX, where you go out and you go on patrols every day and you live in the woods and you get graded in a leadership position. So when you get graded in a leadership position, you either get a go or a no-go. And if you get a no-go, you get recycled, basically, if you don't get another go the second time around. So the first time I went through Darby, I got no-go twice.
And what's Darby?
Darby is the phase that's in Fort Benning. It's just patrol. It's just like intro to patrolling and squad level tactics only.
And did you have to have certain physical tests to get to that
like
level?
the first week of Ranger, before you even get to the 3 phases, you have to go through the first week. And the first week you do it's all individual physical and like skill tests. So you do like the PT test, you do a 5-mile run, you do a 12-mile ruck, you do a land nav course, you do a water obstacle course, you do like a swim test. You do a lot of RTTs, Ranger Tactical Tasks. So you like, clear stoppage from a 240, put it back together, take it apart, load a radio, in place a claymore, all these different things. And that weeds out a lot of people. So to make it through the first week is a big, that'll pretty much set you up for success for the rest.
And is that, anything like, the only thing I refer back to is like Navy SEAL training. Is it like
different.
Sleep deprivation?
Yeah. Sleep deprivation. Like once you're out, you're not sleeping. Like I can remember in Florida, we'd go all day. We'd run 2 missions a day. And then
what are missions?
So like you do like a patrol, you do like an ambush or a raid, and you spend literally all day setting up and then doing the ambush, or doing the raid. And then at night, you go to your patrol base. And I can remember we were doing like, you just go in 24 hours, basically. Like you do these missions, you get into your patrol base, you'd finally get set in, dug in. And then they'd be like, the RIs would be like, oh, well, you got, you guys are getting up at 8, and it would be like 7:30. So,
I never asked this question as long as I've known you, but do you have any history with families in the service?
My grandpa was in the Navy during World War II, and that's it.
That's it.
And my Uncle Gene was in, but I didn't really know my Uncle Gene that well.
So he was drawn to it. What was the lure? Most.
It was just internal.
Just internal. It was your own deal.
It was strictly internal for me. Like there's nobody pushing me to do it, or I wasn't really observing it, through my family, etc.
And then once you got through the first phase where you're like, oh man, I could do this.
Yeah. So like after the initial shock of just being there, and it's like, what the hell's going on? Like, it's just kind of surreal. 'Cause 4 years at West Point, all you hear is you got to get your tab.
What's tab?
Like the Ranger tab that you wear.
Ranger tab.
Got to get it. And so it's just like so weird actually being there and like, oh, I'm actually getting my tab. Like,
and the tab is that on the?
It is. Yeah, it's on my uniform.
The uniform that you brought to me that we hung up so proudly next to Harrison Smith and
all the professional athletes.
It's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
So take me. I know you probably can't. Government restrictions of what you can tell me, but tell me a couple hardcore stories. I mean, the one that I don't know if you could say it on air, but the one you were talking about.
I remember
with your feet.
I'll tell a Ranger School story.
Okay.
I just remember we were in the mountains, and it was like the first 2 days of the FTX, and like we just finished all the first day. We went to sleep. We woke up the next day, and they were like, "All right, we're doing this. We're doing a ambush up here." It was like 10, 15 clicks away, like just over all these mountains and stuff. I just distinctly remember we're just going up these mountains. I mean, we were going like vertically up these, like they're steep mountains. Like it's not a joke. And like we're going up these mountains. You got your rucksack on. It weighs like 60, 70, 80.
And what's a rucksack? On what you
carry. It's like the big backpack that we have that has everything that you live off of inside of it. So you got your food, your water. You've got all your wet weather gear, your uniforms, underwear, socks.
And where are you living? In like a 5-star hotel?
No, you just sleep on the ground.
Oh, really? And that's interesting.
sometimes like a lot of times, like, because you don't get that much time to sleep, so it's honestly not even worth it to get out your sleep system. You just pop the top of your ruck off. I had like a trash bag, and I just lay it out flat and lay on the trash bag and go to sleep. But like, because you're just so tired, like you just want to sleep. That's all you care about. Like every minute is like precious.
So you're going up the hill.
Yeah, so we're going up this hill, and like I just remember, like I was thinking, like, God, this is really hard. Like my legs were cramping. Like, so, I mean, I was drinking plenty of water and Gatorade and stuff. They give us all that stuff, but like locking up, like I can't go anymore. Like locking up. But then I just kept going. I was like, I can actually like push through. Like I didn't think I could do that, but I can. Like it was just a cool like moment. Like I can keep going. Like this doesn't bother me that much, even though my legs are like literally locking up, like cramping so hard. And we got halfway up the hill, and we took a break, and they did a leadership switch, and it was my turn to be in charge, and it was getting dark, and like this is the first time we'd done platoon ops, and it was like the first 2 days, so like nobody knew it was just kind of chaos at that point. And they put me in charge, and we had like 10 minutes to eat something, so we're like all shoving meals down our throats, like just sucking it out of the containers, and then I got everybody up, and we had to get to do this raid, and we like didn't have enough. We barely had enough time to get there, and like we got up the hill, and then we started going, and it got really dark, like just pitch black, and everybody's exhausted, so everybody's like just droning, falling in line, and we're about to make it there. It starts raining, and then we have a huge like break in contact, and that means like basically part of the element kept moving, and then the other half of the element like stopped. And I was with like the other half of the element that stopped. The other half of the element's like gone. I have no clue where they went. Like I knew where we were going, but I had no clue where they went. So I'm like running around, like trying to figure out where everybody is.
And this is pitch black?
It's pitch black. I mean, I have my MVGs on, but
what are those?
The night vision goggles. Like I had my PVS 14s. It was like the monocle that just goes over one eye. But like it was raining, so like it's when it rains or it's really humid and stuff like that, like it's really hard to see even through the MVGs. So like I couldn't really see anything. And then finally we link up with them like 40 minutes later, but like we're going to miss the time hack for the mission, which is like you can't do that to get a go. And so basically we set up like this ambush kind of, and then we missed the time hack, and I got a no-go, and it was devastating because then I got looked at again, and then I got a no-go again in mountains, and then I got looked at on the last day on the last mission, and I got to go, but I didn't find out I was getting to go until like everybody was done. We turned in all our equipment and everything. I was like just the only one like sitting there like, if I get a no-go, I have to recycle this phase again. I got to do it.
Would you say that was like one of the mental breakdowns, or anything that pushed you to the point of like,
I was like so stressed. I was like, I just don't care. Like whatever, fail me, I'll just do it again. Like, but I got to go, and I was just shocked, but like great because I already had recycled Darby, and it's just kind of a weird thing. Like, but they close Ranger School in March because they do the best Ranger competition. So if you recycle that last class in February, you stay there an extra 7 weeks.
And you don't want to do that.
No, it's horrible. It's just like, it's like being treated like a private basically all the time. And you just live in the barracks. You wake up in the morning, you go eat, and then you just get tasked out to do details all day. You just pounding pickets and stringing wire and filling sandbags. And you just go back, and then you go to bed.
And you didn't have to do that.
No, I did have to do that.
You did have to do that.
I did that. The previous to mountains, I had to do that for 7 weeks, and then have to go through Darby again for another 3 weeks, get past that, and then go to mountains.
And then after the mountains, it's what?
It's Florida. So you go to the swamps.
And you went there.
And so I got to go, and then I went down to the swamps. It was, I was so happy.
What's the swamps like?
It's wet. It's wet, and it's sandy, and it's hot. Because I went there in June.
And how long are you in the swamps?
3 weeks.
And what are you doing for 3 weeks?
It's platoon ops. You're doing ambushes and raids. Same tactics. It's just the RIs and Florida. They don't give you as much feedback. It's more like
what's RIs?
Ranger instructor.
Got it.
So those are the guys that are walking you.
Okay.
They don't give you as much. It's more like you're doing advanced stuff. So advanced.
Are you treated better? Or?
You are. Yeah, you're treated great. They don't yell at you. They're not treating you like garbage.
Is that the last?
It's the last phase.
The 3-week phase. Mm-hmm. And then after that, then
you're done.
A certified Army Ranger.
Yeah, you go back to Fort Benning and you stay there for a couple days and you graduate and you leave.
And what's after that? I mean, where are you now? Now that you came back?
So then I did that, and then I already had my orders. I was going to Fort Polk with the 1509th Airborne Infantry. I got there in late August, early September. I was there for a week in processing, and then I got to my unit, and then like 4 or 5 days later, they made me a platoon leader in an able company.
And airborne means?
Yeah, so airborne infantry, we jump out of airplanes or helicopters, C-130s, C-17s, Blackhawks, Chinooks. We jump out of all of it.
And you're jumping out of those?
Yeah, we jump out of it. It's fun. It's really cool. It's definitely...
He says it so nonchalantly, like it's nothing. I can't change a light bulb.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like airborne light airborne infantry is just it's a different world than like you got like mechanized and heavy infantry, but like light airborne is like true. Like you're thinking like Band of Brothers. Like that's what those guys were. They were light airborne infantry.
So would you say what was the number one? Because in the wood gym, we talk about, physical attributes, mental capacity, mental toughness, your mental aspect. Would you say it's, well above average for the average human of how you got through all that to where you see yourself to where you want to be?
So you're saying am I physically super fit?
Well, we know you're physically super fit. I mean, look like a Greek god. I mean, you're physically strong. You have strength. You have endurance. But if everybody lines up like that, your mental aspect. What mental tips you think you have that you could share with us?
It's work ethic. I think if people will tell you can't do things or you're not good enough, etc. But you can do anything that you want if you're willing to put the work in. It doesn't take, you don't have to be talented necessarily at something to do it. You just have to want to do it, and then you can do it. But it's like coming in here, like I'm not, I came in here in 6th grade. I wasn't anything special, I'm just a kid, but it instilled that work ethic in me. I see all these pros working out, like they're working hard. It's like, well, I got to work hard. If you want to do it, you got to work hard, and you put in that hard work, then you'll reap the benefits, but it's not always pleasant and glamorous and fun. But, once you, do it and you get to that next level, then it's worth it.
And that's what you think keeps you going.
That's what keeps me going. Yeah. And I really like my job, and I love being in the Army. I think it's a great experience. I think everybody should do it, honestly, because you're serving something bigger than yourself. You have relationships with people that you can't have, in the outside world. Like it's just different, and I really like it a lot.
You wouldn't trade it?
I wouldn't trade it. No, I wouldn't trade nothing. I would do it all over again. I love it. I really do. I think it's a great experience, and it teaches you a lot about yourself, especially, and how you work with others, and it also teaches you about what others have done, and all the sacrifices that people are making that you're like, damn, like, I can't believe, like, I talked to my NCOs and all these people in my unit that have been in the Army for, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 years. And just talk about what they've done. A lot of them are in Iraq and Afghanistan. I've never been deployed, so I don't know what it's like, but I just listen to their stories and like all the stuff they've done and seen. And it's crazy what, is going on out there. And, we're back here. We have no clue what's people are doing to keep us safe.
So what's your next stage?
So for me, ideally, I want to be a Green Beret. That's what I want to do. So I want to go to selection. They started changing how like all the requirements and stuff to go to selection for officers, because they're hurting right now on how many officers they have. So
what is your title?
I'm a platoon leader.
Platoon leader.
Yeah. I'm first lieutenant, platoon leader.
Army Ranger.
I'm a Ranger, yeah.
You're a Ranger.
Airborne infantry.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. It's definitely something that.
So you're a real black and white guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You do it or you don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think what you went through made you mentally tough, or were you already mentally tough and that's how you got through it?
No, I'm not like satisfied usually with like my mental toughness. Like I'm always trying to get, better, etc. But I think like building up to that, I don't think there's any way I could have done it when I was 18. Like if I had done it, joined the Army when I was 18 and then gone to Ranger school when I was 18, I don't think I would have been successful because I just didn't have the maturity or the mental toughness to do it. I think I've built that over a long period of time. So like coming in here, working out with you, playing football, going to West Point, having all these experiences in the field, like doing stuff that's hard, etc., built me up to go to Ranger school. And then I'm still building now. I'm still, working toward the next thing.
All right. So before we go, I want to ask you a question can you take me through the steps of jumping out of a helicopter?
A helicopter?
And after the steps, if you had any scary moments where you got tripped up on something or, how high was your highest jump, or take me through the steps of.
So for airborne, basically everybody gets out there like in either open field or like the harness shed. They give you your parachute and your reserve parachute. And like you buddy rig each other up. It's not hard. Like you just throw it on. You get the straps all nice and tight. Put the recovery bag.
I like how he says it's not hard.
It's not. It's the Army makes it simple. You just follow the steps and the rules and etc. And like you'll be good. You put your reserve on. Then
Is it up to you to put your stuff together?
Mm-hmm.
So
you
all
size it because like the backpack, like the parachute's adjustable. So like I ride a 3. Some people ride a 2 if they're smaller, or like a 1. It just depends. Get it all set up to you. You get it all tight. Make sure everything's all the straps are tied up, stuff like that. And then the jump master comes. There's a bunch of jump masters, and they come around and then they do like their big inspection where they like check you, make sure everything's perfect because you don't want to have any flaws because you're jumping out of airplane, so it's pretty serious. And they check you, and then they like sign your little card that says you've been checked by them. And then you just sit there and you wait. And sometimes you wait a long time. Sometimes it's not that long, whatever. Then the C-130, comes down, taxiing down the runway, put the ramp down. Whoops. They put the ramp down, and then everybody loads on. It's pretty cool loading on because you're going in the back, down the propellers are going and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You feel like the back blast.
I've seen that in movies.
Yeah, and then you get on, everybody sits down, and like you take off, and you're just sitting there. Then they're like, the jump masters start giving the commands, like, first pass personnel stand up, you stand up, you take your static line and you hook it to the anchor line cable that's above you. And then they open the doors come up on the back. And then, you feel like the air coming in and stuff. And if it's daytime, you can see the ground. If it's nighttime, you can't see anything. And then like you walk up there, and then you got the red light and the green light. And then you're just sitting there waiting. They're like, green light, go. And everybody starts going toward the door, hand off your static line, you turn, and you jump.
Do you get like a big adrenaline rush going?
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward to
adrenaline rush.
Not one of those where they got to shove you out and you freeze or whatever.
No. It's a huge adrenaline rush. Once you jump, and I wouldn't necessarily say like you feel like you're free falling. It's kind of weird. I feel like it's like you're going down a slide because you get the back blast from the propeller. It just shoots you. Plus you're going, in one direction. So fly out, your parachute opens, and then like you're just kind of hanging there, floating down. And you like check your canopy, gain canopy control, all that stuff. Get all ready, and you're just floating. It's kind of weird because it's super loud and like crazy jumping out, and then it's just completely quiet and just super peaceful floating down.
And it's just you.
Yeah. And then you got your buddies, floating down.
Are you armed? Do you have everything on you?
Yeah. So like if you do full combat equipment, you got like everything's packed up, but like you got your rifle or machine gun, whatever. And then you've got your kit that's beneath your legs. When you get to a certain, if you're floating down, you get decently close to the ground, you like lower it. It's on a line. So you pull a thing and it flies off you, but it's attached to you still. So you don't land with it on you. Then you land.
And then you lock and load and go?
Yeah. You land, and then you put your weapon into operation, and then get your radio going, and then put your kit on, and you pack up your stuff, and you're good.
That's pretty cool.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's definitely something that not everybody gets to do.
So you're in for the break. You know, we had the pleasure of having you in here to train with us, and you know, we always say we feel much safer when Reece is in the gym for sure. You know, he's one of the badass guys walking through this gym. Well, you in for a couple weeks, and then where do you go?
I go back to Fort Polk. I'll be there for at least another year. If I get to go to selection earlier, then I'll go do that. And if I get selected, then I'll leave earlier than expected. But
and how old are you now?
I'm 24. 24 in September. So.
And what's the thing that you guys say? Hoo-yah, hoorah? What do you guys say?
Hoorah is the Marine Corps. Yeah. Hoo-ah is Army, but we don't say that.
All right, man. I want to wrap it up. I appreciate you giving me this time.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come in. I love coming in here. It's definitely
it's awesome.
Huge highlight. I love coming in here and just working out with you and just seeing,
it's so different every time. Yeah. Every time you come in, it's totally different. And it's, it's who's in here now, who's going to be the next big thing or whatever. And
it's different maybe people-wise, but it's always consistent. Like I always get in the same level of stuff. It's never, that's why I like coming in here. It's always like, oh, Charlie's the same,
I appreciate that. All right, Reece. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I love you, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.